The evening was cool when Michael Turner pulled the sleek black sedan into the long driveway of the Bennett estate. He had been working as the family's driver for nearly 3 years now, and while his job kept him in the background, he had seen and heard more than most people realized. His role had always been simple: drive Mr. Charles Bennett to his business meetings, drop Mrs. Evelyn Bennett at her charity events, and occasionally pick up their daughter Claire from college. But Michael's quiet life had shifted when something unexpected began brewing between himself and Evelyn, something that made every drive heavier with secrets. Michael wasn't the kind of man who thought himself worthy of a woman like Evelyn. She was elegant, graceful, always poised in her tailored dresses and pearls, the picture of wealth and refinement. But she was also kind, with a softness in her eyes that had drawn him in from the start. He'd noticed how lonely she seemed in her marriage. Charles was often absent, his life revolving around business trips and meetings, and when he was home, he carried the weight of his ambition with little time to spare for his wife. Michael, on the other hand, was always there, waiting by the car, opening doors, listening to her conversations when she needed someone to talk to. Started small. Shared laugh on long drives. Glances in the rearview mirror that lingered a little too long. Then came the night Evelyn asked him to stay after driving her back from a gala. "Just one drink," she had said, her voice trembling slightly. That one drink turned into hours of conversation, then into something far more dangerous. By the time Michael realized how deep he was in, he was already caught in the current of something that could never truly be his. Evelyn and Michael kept their secret carefully. Every moment stolen was wrapped in caution. Hushed words, subtle touches, late-night calls. But what Michael didn't know was that Claire had begun to notice. She wasn't a child anymore, and her intuition was sharp. She saw the way her mother's expression softened when Michael entered the room, the way his eyes followed her with quiet admiration. Claire loved Michael, but in a different way. He had always treated her like family, protecting her and supporting her when her father was too busy to notice her achievements. For Claire, Michael was the one steady figure in her life, someone she could trust. The day everything began to unravel was an ordinary Tuesday. Michael was driving Evelyn back from a fundraiser when she reached for his hand in the back seat. It was a fleeting touch, something meant to reassure him, but in that moment Claire happened to call on Evelyn's phone. Michael's eyes flickered in the rearview mirror, his hand instantly pulling away. Evelyn's voice was steady as she answered, but Claire had caught the hesitation. She didn't say anything at first, but the suspicion gnawed at her. The following week, Charles announced that he would be leaving for an extended trip overseas. Evelyn smiled politely at dinner, but Michael could see the flicker of relief in her eyes. With Charles gone, their secret life became less restrained. They spent more time together, though always careful in front of the staff. Still, Claire grew more watchful. She began asking questions, innocent ones that carried a weight Michael couldn't ignore. "You spend a lot of time with my mom, don't you?" she asked one afternoon, her tone casual, but her eyes piercing. Michael had forced a smile, replying, "It's my job to look after her." But Claire wasn't convinced. The breaking point came one stormy night when Evelyn invited Michael inside after a long drive back from the airport. Claire had been home earlier than expected, and when she walked into the living room, she froze at the sight of her mother and Michael sitting too close together. Neither of them had crossed a line in that moment, but the intimacy was undeniable. Claire's expression was a mixture of hurt and disbelief. Evelyn tried to explain, but the words faltered. Michael, knowing silence would only deepen the wound, decided he couldn't keep the truth buried any longer. "Claire," he began, his voice low but steady, "I need to tell you something I should have never let happen." Evelyn tried to stop him, but Michael pressed on. "Your mother and we've grown close. Too close. I know it's wrong. I know I should have kept my distance, but I didn't. And I can't keep pretending it's not true." Claire's face went pale, her hands trembling as she set her glass on the table. The betrayal was sharp, not just because of her mother, but because of Michael, the man she had trusted completely. "How could you?" she whispered, her voice cracking. Evelyn reached out, tears in her eyes. Claire, it wasn't supposed to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. You have to understand your father. He's been gone for so long, even when he's here. But Claire wasn't ready to listen. She stormed out of the room, leaving Evelyn and Michael in silence. For the first time, the weight of their choices pressed down on them in full force. In the days that followed, the house was tense. Claire avoided both of them, barely speaking during meals, shutting herself away in her room. Evelyn tried to reach out, but her daughter's trust had been fractured. Michael, racked with guilt, considered leaving his position altogether. But leaving without explaining everything would only make things worse. So one evening, when the storm outside mirrored the chaos within, Michael sat down with Claire. She didn't want to face him, her arms crossed, her expression cold, but he spoke anyway. Claire, I know I've let you down. I never wanted to betray you or your family. I care about your mom, but I care about you too. You've always trusted me, and I broke that trust. I can't take it back, but I can be honest now. For the first time since that night, Claire let her tears fall. You were the one person I thought would never hurt me, she said. You were supposed to protect us, not this. Michael swallowed hard. You're right. Failed you. And maybe the best way to make it right is to step away. The thought of losing him brought another wave of emotion for Claire. Despite everything, she didn't want Michael to disappear. He had been more of a father figure to her than her own father in many ways. I don't know if I can forgive you, she admitted, her voice soft. But I don't want to lose you either. Evelyn eventually joined them, her own tears streaking down her face. I made mistakes too, she said, her voice breaking. I was lonely, but that doesn't excuse anything. Claire, you are the most important person in my life. I need you to believe that. The three of them sat together in that storm of emotions, bound by love, betrayal, and the fragile hope of forgiveness. Nothing was resolved that night, but something had shifted. The truth, painful as it was, had been laid bare. In the weeks that followed, Michael chose to resign from his role. It wasn't forced, Charles never found out, but he knew it was the right thing to do. He left with a heavy heart, not just because of Evelyn, but because of Claire, the girl he had sworn to protect. Years later, Claire would look back on that time with mixed feelings. She never forgot the sting of betrayal, but she also never forgot Michael's confession. It was his honesty in the end, flawed as it was, that helped her understand the complexity of love and the mistakes people make when loneliness clouds their judgment. Evelyn and Charles stayed together, though their marriage never quite healed. Evelyn carried the memory of Michael like a hidden scar, one that reminded her of both passion and regret. And Michael, wherever he was, carried the weight of that confession. He had been caught between love and betrayal, and though it cost him everything, telling the truth had been his only way forward.